Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for news stories from Yellow Cat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. Managers of Reddit. What was the worst case of I demand to speak to the manager you've experienced? I was a shift lead at a GameStop and was the manager on duty with one other associate in the store. We were pretty busy, both the other employee and I were on registers ringing through our own respective lines. Poor guy I work with gets this soccer mom haircut that I knew was gonna be trouble, and she is trying to return a new game that had the seal broken on it. Against return policy, can't help you. So the lady gets really upset and demands to cancel all of her son's pre-orders. My guy obliges and is preparing to give her her refund in store credit because her son had only paid for the pre-orders with trades. You can't mix-match tenders, so my guy informed her so. That was just it. She was instantly screaming and calling my associate a liar. He literally turns the computer screen towards her and shows her the entries in trade credit, but she isn't having it. "Let me speak to your manager." Dude points to me, I wrap up with my customer, and we trade registers so he can keep helping out. I ask her how can I help, to which she screams her experience at me. I reiterate what my buddy informed her and that there isn't any way we can get her cash back. She claims, "Well, I'm gonna call your corporate office and tell them that your policy doesn't apply to me and I've never been treated like this before." To which I happily offer her the corporate number and advise her that telling a corporate customer service line that they believe they are exempt from policy is probably not the best strategy. Woman gets red in the face and starts looking around the store, and God forbid the poor man, the old manager, walks in. He does not work there anymore, but the woman recognizes him from his time at the store. She begins accusing me of lying to her because she knows that he is the real manager and that he can help her. Nope, dude just trying to shop. She ended up leaving in a huff. At Red Lobster, someone grabbed the manager and told him his shrimp was cold, wanted a free beer, and he could get better fish by fishing. This manager was my dad and was meeting us after work and apparently looked like an authority figure since he had a tie on. My dad replied, "That's cocktail shrimp, you moron." So when I worked at Starbucks, we, as you can imagine, had plenty of entitled people come in expecting the world of employees barely paid above minimum wage who've been awake since 3 a.m. or earlier. We had people blaming us for the fact that they were late for work and were going to be fired, people blaming us for being late picking up their kids blaming us for being late to school. Plenty of, "But I ordered a venti, why did you give me a grande?" Or, "This coffee is cold because I've left it sitting out for an hour, but I want you to make me a new one for free." Or, "You weren't being enthusiastic enough after 8 hours of being here and so sleep deprived, you don't know what your name is." But probably the worst/funniest was Libby. Libby was a regular who we really wished wasn't. She was overly demanding and had one of those super complicated half calf, double soy, triple whip, hold the cream, half the sugar, and do a backflip when you serve it to me types, and she could tell if you got her order wrong and would make you remake it until it was right. She also would steal from our tip jar right in front of our faces. She'd pretend to put a 5 in and then pull out 4 ones, but she'd take out 5 or 6 ones instead. And one time during this little switcheroo of hers, she accidentally dropped a $100 bill out of her wallet. The good thing about Libby was that she only came in once or twice a week, but that meant that we were the ones who had to find this $100 for her. She didn't notice it for a few hours afterwards, and when she did, she called in and asked for the manager and asked her if she'd seen it. Since she would have dropped it out in the lobby, where we very rarely went since we were so busy in BOH, we went out to check but found nothing and told her that a customer must have taken it and that we were sorry but there was nothing we could do. She flipped her ass. "That's my rent money. I'm gonna be kicked out of my house. Do you want me to be homeless? You hate me and want me to be homeless, you SFers. I hate you and you're terrible. Go F off and die." The supervisor came out and gave me the gist of what she'd said while begging me to find this money. There were also some racist accusations since the neighborhood this S-Bucks was in was predominantly immigrants and Libby was your standard white liberal put under pressure. Anyway, so a week passes and still the money hasn't shown up. Libby calls us each day, multiple times a day, to find out if we found her money. Sometimes she yells and screams, sometimes she doesn't. Either way, the answer's always the same. We hadn't found her money. So she comes in again and pretends like she hasn't been cussing us out for a week straight, is all happy and bubbly, and jokes about losing the money and how she's just so scatterbrained sometimes, ha ha. She tries to talk me into giving her free coffee since we lost her money, but I tell her that she has to pay anyway. She grumbles and opens up her wallet, pulls out her card, and out flutters a $100 bill and lands on the counter. We both look at it. She looks into her wallet and after a moment goes, "Oh, that's right! I hid that $100 in my credit card slot for safekeeping so I wouldn't lose it. You can stop looking for my money now." That was it. No apologies for the abuse throughout the week, the accusations, anything. I know I shouldn't expect one, but I think she realized that she effed up though because she didn't show back up for a couple of weeks. One of the heads of a radiology department was infuriated when there was a network outage in his area, stormed up into our support area screaming for a manager, me. Listened to him rant and rave and finally decided to take a walk down there to see what I could do. Start looking around and I find a bunch of $10 network hubs splitting one PC connection to 8 PCs. I started laughing and asked who put these hubs in. He said I did. What's so funny? Explained that he was the source of his own problem, started disconnecting the hubs, and guess what? The network came back up. I confiscated about 7 hubs and told him if he needs more connections, he has to contact engineering and have them run more lines. He flipped out and I just walked down the hall to his VP's office and explained what happened. When I was leaving the office, the VP called him. He no longer works here. I was managing 2 stores while one manager was on maternity leave. That day, I had a terrible cold and nobody to replace me. So I went to the store, opened it, and went sleeping in the back store, leaving it to the experienced salesperson. That was the day that woman, who was the one returning the most clothing in that store, decided to return some clothes again. She asks for me, screaming that the employee couldn't be trusted. Big mistake. Imagine my face, red with fever, not wearing any makeup, hair undone. I was scary looking. I took back the clothing and then I escorted her out of the store saying that I never wanted to see her again. That she was a waste of time and if she was returning that much clothing, she was not satisfied anyway. A couple of weeks later, I was at the other store and guess who I saw? That bee. She looked at me for a second and left. Don't F with me when I'm sick. Worked front desk of a hotel. Had a woman throw a GD tantrum because the state we were in charged a 6% room tax. She demanded that I remove the tax. I told her that we had no control over taxes. She still wouldn't accept the reality of taxes, so I printed off the contact information for her state representative and told her to direct her complaints to them. She did not like that at all. She started screaming, so I got my manager. My manager said basically what I said, that we cannot legally remove a tax, so the woman grabbed the bowl of mint on the counter and threw it at my head and stormed out. We had a credit card on file and charged her for the full amount. This one is kind of a recurring problem. Fortunately, as a manager, I only have 2 people above me, the general manager and the owner. We have a woman that works for us, is the sweetest woman in the world, but she is a larger woman, older, 65, and comes from a farming and military background, so she is strong and stocky. Unfortunately, she is often mistaken for a transgender person, even though she is not. Not that we have a problem with that either. Anyway, multiple people have refused to do business with her based on her appearance. We do have booking fees at our establishment, and anyone who sets an appointment with her is subject to the cancellation fee if they cancel without notice. I have had her come out to greet a client, and as soon as they see her, say nope and turn around. Without getting into detail, our business has nothing to do with appearance. I then charge them a cancellation fee. Often, I get a call a few days later asking what the charge is. Myself or my subordinates say it is for canceling service without proper notice. At least 4 to 5 times a year, I get to hear some a-hole try to stammer to me why he should get a refund. I always make them say it, as most of the time they try to dance around the issue. I had a last-minute thing come up. "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but your personal life can't affect our business arrangement." She wasn't what I expected. "Oh? In what way?" You know. "No, sir, I don't." Well, cue lots of stammering, etc. I will not give refunds for this, my boss won't, and my owner won't. If they really want to push chargebacks against us, they can, but we aren't about to let people do this. Managed a liquor store in a college town. People would always ask to speak to a manager because we wouldn't sell them alcohol without a proper ID. Or they would try to show me a school ID like that would mean anything to me. Also, got some social security cards, birth certificates, or other forms of irrelevant pieces of paper like a picture/photocopy of their ID. The best is when I would work up at the front registers and people would tell me to go get a manager and I would do a 360 and say, "Hi, now F off." My boss didn't care, he was a good friend of mine and would laugh. I didn't get S unless they deserved it. Was a waiter at a small restaurant for a number of years. Worst incident involved a group of guys, 6 to 8, all in their late teens/early 20s. They went all out, expensive drinks, cocktails, and everyone ordered a steak. The one that stuck out to me and the one that eventually demanded to see the manager ordered his medium well with every sauce available being garlic, mushroom, and peppercorn. They stayed for over 2 hours, racking up the bar tab after they'd cleaned their plates, some of them even literally licking their plates. Well, they eventually call for the bill. I dutifully bring it over, and the guy who ordered the steak with every sauce pulls me aside and says he's not paying for his steak. Why, may you ask? Apparently, the garlic butter was frozen, therefore rendering the steak that he wolfed down completely inedible. I look him dead in the eye and say, "Dude, the garlic butter doesn't even stay in the freezer. There's no way it could have been frozen." Customer takes offense to this and demands to see the manager. I go to the back office and explain the situation, and as we're going through the kitchen, he stops me and asks if their plates are still in the unwashed stack. They were, and every plate was empty. Manager and myself walk out to the table. He asks what the problem is, and 3 sauce guy points at me saying I have a terrible attitude and demands that his inedible steak be taken off the bill. Guy then explains that he goes to the best steakhouses in the city and knows an S steak when he sees one. Manager looks at customer, looks at me, turns back to customer, and plainly tells him, "What kind of effing moron orders all 3 sauces on a steak?" Screaming match ensues, entire table telling manager he's an effing idiot and wouldn't know a good steak if someone slapped him with it. Manager screams at them to get the F out of his restaurant and their connoisseurial taste can suck a fat one. At the end of the night, the manager says that incidents like this happen every 2 to 3 years, usually a group of young guys, and they're just looking to start a fight to skip out on the bill. Apparently, he just absorbs a cost like this to avoid unnecessary drama. I've had unhappy customers call and ask for the owner of the company by name because they Googled it. I explain that that person is technically an owner but has nothing to do with the business and doesn't even live in the same state. Then I go on and solve their problem with what authority I have. Meanwhile, I'm that owner of the company. Never show all your cards when negotiating. If you want to watch the part 1, click the link here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, the likes, and the comments. See you in the next video.